Yes.
maybe. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 55, the double nickel episode of Technically Trek. I am your host, Dave Prime, and over there to my right is the witchy ditzy Captain Catie. One of these days I'm going to say that without getting tongue tied. How you doing, my dear?
Captain Catie, Ditzy Witch, here, as always, in my pajamas, middle of the night.
In the middle of the night.
Um,
Still midnight for you over there, isn't it?
Actually, no, our clocks have changed now, so it is once again 1 a.m.
Okay, so yay. So,
Yes, our clocks
yeah, what?
changed early hours yesterday morning, so, you know, it doesn't really matter to me because, my circadian rhythm is completely screwed anyway. I don't have a
Yeah,
circadian rhythm. Um, so it makes no difference for me, even though so many people complain about it. But
yeah,
it's been a good week, apart from I've injured my ankle again.
oof.
So yay! And
Yeah,
I
I,
rest of this week to get it better again because on Saturday night, going out for my birthday, I'll be wearing 5-inch platform heels.
and
So,
hopefully you don't re-injure the ankle.
well, I'm still debating whether to take my walking stick out with me or not because I've never been on a night out with any of my mobility aids. So I'm still debating, but I might need to take it with me.
So they always say better safe than sorry. That should be rule acquisition, but
Well, yeah, and I can always use it as a prop on the dance floor.
all right. And if someone's getting a little frisky with you, you gotta.
Well, I do accidentally call it my whacking stick rather than my walking stick. So,
Giggity.
Um,
giggity.
yeah, but getting a little choked up over this episode. It's a lot funnier than I remember. But before we start going and bring our people backstage, I just gotta give a shout out for my new partner Debbie. It's an energy drink that you can get tumblers and powders of different kinds. It's geared towards gamers, but it's also geared towards streamers such as ourselves. And say I'm trying the fruit punch, and the fruit punch is not half bad. So yay on that. But if you go to
Yay.
w.gg and use the code TechTrek, TEKTREK, you get 10% off any order that you do, and they offer free shipping. So that saves you a couple of bucks too. So w.gg. But tonight, again, as usual, we're on that 90-minute platform because of my commitments in the evening. Let's say I almost didn't think I was going to be able to do that commitment based on what we were sharing backstage. Some of the, let's just say, digestive issues I had. I don't know what the heck I ate. Could have been the fact that I played kickball for the first time in over 30 years. And yeah, let's see, I did make it to first base on one at bat, but I had fun. That's the important thing. I realized that with my diabetes, how horrible I run nowadays. But as the season progresses, got this Sunday off, but starting next Sunday, going to be doing that for the next 2 months. So looking forward to maybe hopefully getting some exercise, some cardio, and just take it from there. But tonight's episode, we're going to go to Enterprise, which I do got to say, if I remember where I put my notepad.
Yes, this is an episode of Technically Trek where we'll be discussing men running around in their underwear.
Oh yes, yeah, I was going to say yes, another one of your favorites.
Oh yeah,
See,
I mean, as a lesbian, I love to see men running around in their underwear. I mean, it's glorious. I mean, Hugh Tyson and Travis will get a kick out of it.
Oh yes, but
I mean, at least Connor Trinier has a nice derriere, so it's not it's not too bad, and please don't spit your drink all over the camera.
say I've had enough problems with like electrical issues because we were in the dark over the weekend because of things, but we got it up and running for the most part except hot water, but we got hot water across the hall so I can still get a hot shower in the morning.
Well, yes, and the most important thing you need to remember is we always swallow, we don't spit.
Yep. Yeah. But,
I hear Travis in the background. He must agree.
Yeah, but one thing I do got to mention, and it was noted that this script went out of its way to make sure that the Ferengi's name was not known by Archer and the crew, because Next Generation, they didn't make official face-to-face first contact until the last outpost. Even though there's been skirmishes with the Ferengi, they've never like Battle of Maxia with Picard. And saying he never saw their faces. And saying so, as much as I have bashed Enterprise for retconning a lot of stuff with established continuity, they did it right with this episode.
Right.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, one part of the continuity that I loved is that when we first met the Ferengi in Next Gen, they were more pirates. Like they were basically kind of like space pirates, and they even like with the whips. And I mean, I adore whips. But the continuity and how we met them in Enterprise as well. They were more like marauders, space pirates,
They brought back the whips.
Yes, and they brought back the whips, and what glorious whips they are. Although Ethan Phillips could have done to have a bit more flick of the wrist with that whip. Don't ask me how I know that. But yeah, I absolutely love I mean, even right down to their outfits as well. They were very much, even though they still had color in them, they were very much like quite sketchy clothing, for like pirating. So yeah, I do like the continuity, and they did this episode really well.
Okay, so I am going to bring our two speakers to the forefront, Tyson and Travis. How you going, guys?
How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Hey, Paige.
Hey.
How's your guys' week been?
My week.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's just been, as usual for somebody being unemployed. I heard my ex-supervisor, he went to work on Tuesday morning and he got walked out an hour later. He got fired.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, they say officially it was for consolidation reason and financial reason, but we all know it was for other things because there's a major class action. Well, I kind of call it class action, but there's a major lawsuit against the company. And I guess his name did it, and apparently there's been other stuff too about him. So I was like, wow, a month later and he's gone. And I thought his position was secure, but apparently it wasn't.
Jackie darn. But yeah, going to the episode, this is like one of the few episodes where it's like 60 seconds, bam, opening credits. So there's
it was a very quick cold open, wasn't
it? Yeah,
it is usually a little longer.
Yeah, couple
I
minutes.
I noted in the chat here that this episode really did have Star Trek royalty. I mean, Clint
Yes.
Howard, Ethan Phillips, Jeffrey Combs. I mean, just all the best.
Mm-hmm.
One question: who's Clint Howard?
Oh, he was from Star Trek, the original series. It's the episode where I forget the name of it, but that big giant ship disables the Enterprise, and then the little bitty one tries to tow it.
Yeah,
Say it.
The
The
Corbomite
Corbomite
maneuver.
yes. And so he's the little guy at the end that says, "I hope you relish the Tranya as much as I do." He was one of the
Right.
Ferengis. He was one of the Ferengis.
And he was the homeless guy in the DS9 episode Past Tense, where he stole Jadzia's communicator, and he's like, "Whoosh, you can't see me." He's like, "Actually, I can." He's like, "Really?" And he was in a couple of other episodes too. So, but yeah, this episode marked Holmes's 7th different character appearance in the Star Trek franchise, and only 4 other actors have matched that. It's a Randy Oglesby, J.G. Hertzler, Vaughn Armstrong, and the one that just kind of threw you for a loop, but Thomas Kopach. That name doesn't ring an immediate bell for me, but apparently he's been in 7 different episodes, 7 different characters in the series as well. So I didn't have time to research that a little deeper.
Well, Jeffrey Combs has played a Ferengi before, but he played what was his character? Brunt. But you could tell Jeffrey is so good that I could, just really looking at him and listening, I can tell by his voice and everything, but he played this Ferengi completely differently. Like, and even his acting style was different. It was just, I had to look a couple of times. Is that really Jeffrey Combs? I think it's Jeffrey Combs. Let me go back and look at the credit. Yeah, it is Jeffrey Combs. Let me go back. Because he does, he usually, the way he draws out his words. I mean, Jeffrey Combs has a style and you're used to it. And he didn't have that.
He's more submissive in this than he is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but he is really so versatile. He really is. I mean, what was I watching a month or so ago? I don't know if it was Criminal Minds or the original CSI Crime Scene Investigation, but it was in an episode of that, and the character that he played was, I think it was the original series of CSI. I think it was a vet or something. I can't remember, but he was more like the Ferengi he played in this episode of Enterprise than any of his other characters. And it was just like, why do I know you? And it took me a while because I'm used to seeing him in character. I'm used to seeing him as an alien,
Right.
And but seeing him human as himself, I was just like, I know you, and I know you are in Star Trek. Who are you? And I was literally sat here like this. I was rocking because I'm like, I know your voice. Who are you? And then Brunt FCA just popped into my head. Then Shran popped into my head. And what's the water's name? Wayun.
Wait, you know what?
And then I realized who it was.
I love and you're right, he's very versatile, and I really love versatile men actors. But giggity. But you're right. When you see him as a human, and I have a couple of times on some of the making of Star Trek DS9 and others where it's just him. And Jeffrey Combs looks like Jeffrey Combs, and he sounds like Jeffrey Combs, but God, what an actor! Like if you were to ask me who is your favorite Star Trek actor of across the universe, I would probably say Jeffrey Combs. Just love him. And Catie, I know you like him a lot more than you like William Shatner.
Yeah, I think she likes anybody better than Shatner.
Yeah, I mean, William Shatner for me is on par with Justin Bieber and Miley Cyrus and like Taylor Swift. Like they can.
I like the guy
go
in
into
the red
Room 101.
I like the guy in the red shirt that died on the planet in the first episode better than I like William Shatner.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, I've got a list of people who I'm coming back to haunt, and I hate him so much he's not even on it. you know, I mean, you know, I just I can't stand him. But no, I mean,
at 95 years old, let's hope that he's coming to haunt you before you're haunting him. Right?
You're right.
He's 95. Let's hope you outlive him.
I thought I wrote
hopefully,
more notes.
very hopefully, because you know, what's going on with this connection? Oh, we're
Oh, at least it's not me this time. Oh, thank God.
back.
Oh wow.
You're
No,
doing
That,
fine until you
sorry if
mention
that
it,
cut out for
Catie.
everybody watching.
now you know how I felt last week.
Oh. Oh.
No, I don't know if it's my internet playing up, but it's stopped now, I think. But no, I will warn you, my internet has been playing up for about a week or two. So if I suddenly disappear, you'll know why.
Duly
Fair
noted.
warning, appreciate that. But I'm surprised. I thought I took more notes on this episode, but like it's got one page other than like the little tidbits that I researched.
Well,
I don't know if
But
And I'm sorry, but I've got to give a shout out. I've got to give a shout out to Russell Watson for the soundtrack for the opening song. I know there's a lot of issues with this song because it is so different
I
to
love
the
it.
opening credits of every other Star Trek. But this song and the way they did the opening credits was perfect for what this series is. Because, I mean, if you listen to the words and like really, really listen and watch all the images from the opening credits, it is a perfect mix. And okay, so it's very different for any other Star Trek, but who gives a crap? At the end of the day, it's a good series. The song is perfect. And I just have to give a shout out to Russell Watson for singing it and donating it to Star Trek, and also for whoever decided that they were going to have it as the opening song,
Keep in
because
mind that season two, season 1 and 2, and then season 3 and 4 are slightly different. They added more electric guitar and drum, and it's a little more. It's a little
you
more
see, I like
rocky.
both.
Yeah,
I like both renditions
I
of it.
I like the season 3, 4 better. I like them both. And you're right. Of all the Star Treks, that's my favorite theme. Star Trek 2 and 4 had some pretty good music. But
Yeah.
I digress. But of all the TV shows, I absolutely love that as one of my favorite. And by the way, you can get the original song, which is actually quite a bit longer on Apple Music.
And Spotify, I've got it. I've got it on my Spotify. As soon as like the first ever time I watched Enterprise a couple of years ago, official DT homework that was given to me. You know, I heard that song and I'm like, oh my God, I love this. I have to have this. I literally had the flappy hands and everything. Because I was very excited to discover new music. And it was downloaded onto my Spotify straight away.
By the way, if you take a look at this, you'll notice the font changes every so often.
yeah, I see it.
That's still Star Trek font, but
Yeah.
if you give it a second, it'll go to a new Star Trek font. There we
Yep.
go.
It's like Klingon.
No, that's the Next Generation
No.
font.
Oh, I can kind of make it out, but it's just like it'll look kind of like Klingonese or something.
No, that's the Next Gen font, and then it goes from that to the TOS font, which is the one that you use up on. If you look up at the corner. Yeah, see there's the
OG.
there's the
The OG.
TOS, and then it's going to go back to the movie font. So I just have that
Right
for
on.
fun, kind of rotating.
Yeah, when you suggested rotating, I was thinking the Delta emblem was going to be rotating.
Oh no, just the different fonts there. There, that's the movie font. Anyway,
But yeah,
I love playing with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about the soundtracks, honestly, Enterprise is my least favorite. I don't know. Is it just
Excuse
because
me?
of Enterprise is at the bottom of my list for favorite soundtracks?
How are we friends? How are we friends?
Let's see. Well, it's not. It's not a. It's a symbiotic relationship. Sometimes it doesn't work completely right, but say so. Let's say Next Generation is a rework of the motion picture soundtrack. So I mean, it's kind of a blend. I like that. That's my top, and then the season 4 through 7 of DS9, Voyager, then the first 3 seasons of DS9. They Lord, I'm just popping in my head, but the Lower Decks is really good. Definitely has next gen vibes to it. Discovery, kind of like just a notch or two above Enterprise.
How are we friends? How are we friends? I'm sorry, but how are we friends? I mean, I'm sorry, but I mean, I love, like, in order for me, like, opening, like for the music, like opening music, it's Enterprise, Voyager, Next Gen, DS9, Discovery, Lower Decks, Strange New Worlds, and TOS.
And there's so much more because there's Prodigy,
Oh no,
there's the
actually,
animated series, and Prodigy has a pretty good little
mm,
upbeat tune.
I didn't like that neither. But no, I need to switch Strange New Worlds and DS9 around. But no, I absolutely adore this song, and it is perfect for what this series is. So
Page.
I know, Paige. You know, I honestly don't know how us lot are friends. I really don't, because, you know, they insult my favorites all the time.
Yeah, but when it comes to the
Mala,
my dear,
darling,
I'm
you
all
are so loved.
and I'm not sure if it was flashed on the screen earlier, but Paige was asking where everyone's essentially hailing from. I'm in Colorado Springs. You know where Catie's at.
Oh yeah, same building.
I
See,
am in a place on the east, not the East Coast per se, but in the East called West Virginia.
West Virginia.
And I'm on the other side. I'm on the west coast of the United States, in the smallest state called California.
Oh yes, very tiny, dear, very
Very
tiny.
very tiny, very tiny state. Actually, I'm in San Diego County, which is the southernmost city in Southern California. So my county borders Mexico, Tijuana, Mexico. So we border it. I've been to TJ so many times. Love it.
But one thing I actually made a note of on the episode. It took 11 almost 12 minutes into the episode before we actually started hearing the Ferengi speaking English. Up to that point, they were all
Mhm.
in uh, the
And I
Ferengi
really
language.
liked that detail. I really liked that detail. And when they were using their universal translator, they were basically pointing at him like a remote, like a TV remote, when they were changing it. And I found that so funny. And then the way that they did it so that the universal translator was working, like how they just phased in the English, that was done really well, in my opinion.
Well, and it's kind of
It
like
was very
with
natural.
the DS9 episode with the Screens, where they were having the
Mm.
universal translator was having difficulty. Eventually, the UT caught up and just like, we are the Screens, we need your help.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Here's something too, Dave.
Hmm.
Well, to the rest of the panel. Um, this episode, they even named they dropped what I consider, a little, interesting continuity facts about this um episode. is they use some rule of acquisitions, and they
Mm-hmm.
said that there are 123 rule of acquisitions in this episode.
137.
Ah, one was it? Yeah, one. Sorry, I'm not on my right mind right now. But anyway, I know that they added if you count from what they said 137 to all the way to the 20 almost to the 25th century. That would mean they added 112 more episode rules to the
They
you
pretty much
know
doubled it. More than
yeah,
doubled
yeah.
it.
I was actually pretty impressed. I was like, oh wow, I'm glad too and stuff. And also too, there is one rule that they name dropped the rule in this, and it was I'm surprised nobody ever called me out on this or even asked me this question stuff. But I'm just gonna tell everybody. They uh, quoted one of them quoted as saying, "Expand or die." That was the rule of acquisition 45. That same rule is the same rule is rule of acquisition 95. There's two rules that are the same. Rule 45 and rule uh, 95. And they are the same. They are exactly the same thing. I'm surprised nobody ever. I was wondering if anybody ever going to ask me that, and I was like, "How long do I'm going to keep this up and everything?" But I'm glad this episode came up because it allows me to, get it out there. I'm like, "Oh my goodness, not everybody's familiar with the same rules and stuff and everything." But I was like, okay, I'm just gonna have to tell everybody. They name dropped the rule of acquisition in here, but it's the same. It's the same as the two of them are literally the same, just different numbers.
Well, yeah, I like that they actually numbered some of the acquisitions as well. Like, never let family stand in the way of profit. That's rule of acquisition number 6 in it.
Yes.
Yes, go me for memory. Sorry. Sorry, you know what I'm like with my memory, even though I've literally just watched the episode before the show. But no, I do like that they actually gave the number acquisition after they said it. Not with all of them, but they did with some of them, and I really liked that.
Here's one. There's nothing more important than your health, except for money. Except for your money, I mean.
Yeah, I forget which number acquisition that is.
23.
Yes, that's it, 23. Because I know that he did state that it was rule of acquisition number, obviously number 23, but I couldn't remember the number.
Saying I got to put it out there. It's going right to sex again, but it's not as bad as last week.
Oh.
If you want to know, bopped about 19 minutes into last week's episode where we asked a very legitimate question about how fully functional data is. But the Ferengi that was oogling over the Ferengi that was oogling over to Paul, was he the author of Vulcan Love Slave?
Very possibly. Very possibly.
That is a good question.
He seems the kind of guy to write something like that, because he fell head over heels for Paul.
I mean, Jeffrey Combs can write.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Here's a
Oh my
little
God!
something.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting for us to get a new viewer that comes on and then does center. You're going to hell, center.
Do y'all remember the scene where Trip got caught and he ended up fighting Clint? I believe it was Clint Howard.
Same.
He was well, it was so funny. He ended up biting him on the ear and then knocking him out. I'm sitting there thinking, the Ferengi ears are almost like our male testicles and stuff and everything. He bit him on his ear, and they even said umax in this. I was sitting there like, oh my goodness, I wonder if she gives real good umax. And stuff. I was like, I haven't had a good umax since I was in the shower the other day.
We tain't talking about that.
Well, you know, I was rubbing my ears. Oh, but I was just thinking, you know, biting the Ferengi on the ears is almost equivalent to like us getting hit in our, you know, lower parts and stuff for us guys, you know, or a woman getting bit on her breast or something, or smacked on it.
I keep thinking of Star Trek 6 where the blue alien goes, oh, and then not
Not
everybody keeps their testicles or not everybody keeps their genitals in the same place. That, you
Oh,
know, good thing that guy had knees. Those were not his
not
knees.
his knees.
mm-mm, no.
Anything you want to tell me?
Anything else? And she
That
just
was
the grin that Marty gives Kirk. Just yeah. Ah,
now Martia was a Kamaloid, right? That was
yes.
her.
Yes, Martia was a Commodore. Shapeshifter. See that you know it's so funny that you know the Federation and stuff known about shapeshifter, but not the shapeshifter that we know. That
Here's how could she be imprisoned in Rura Pente when she could have just shapeshifted into any of the guards or any of the people that run the place?
I always wondered that question too.
Like, why did it take Kirk? Like, you know, what are you getting out of this? A full pardon, which doesn't include this. Well, couldn't you have just, you know, turned yourself into that one-eyed Klingon and, you know, I don't know. She could have been anything. I mean, she could, you know, shapeshift into a mouse and scurry out of there. Like, there's a million ways. It feels stupid that if you're a Kamaloid, you're stuck on fucking Rura Pente.
And we knew why she was there. You know, it was like, oh yeah, you know, come on now.
Same.
But also,
It's no. Go ahead, Travis.
I was gonna say also too in this, you know, one thing that I really liked about this episode in a sense, is when I went back and rewatched it, I love how they interact and they play. They didn't treat them as very hostile, but they, you know, they play act with them. They play act the with the Ferengis and stuff. They know what they was doing and stuff. I'm glad Trip, you know, was one of the ones that wasn't unconscious of the device and stuff. But it was so funny watching Archer interact with Krim. That was Brunt, or not Brunt, but that was Jeffrey Combs' character. Um, it was so it was so funny watching Trip run around, you know, the ship and stuff, and it was
In
so
his underwear.
crazy. Oh well, then you know after that he went and got a crewman's uniform, and one thing too, and here's another little continuity about that. Uh, Trip is about the only person that we've seen as the one of the main characters who wore all three divisions, you know, three different division colors in the entire show and stuff.
Yeah, I
But
wrote that down too.
he, it was so funny when he put that lock on the door. I just looked. I was like, biohazardous. The bio, oh no, the bioregener. What was it? Biomatter sequencer. That's what it was. The
Mm-hmm.
biomatter sequencer and stuff and everything. I was like, wait, I remember him mention the biomatter sequencer, and it dawned on me. I'm like, this is the waste. This is where they store the waste and stuff, the tanks and everything else. And then put two together, I'm like,
Yep.
oh man, they kept him so off balance and stuff and everything. It was absolutely funny, you know, because they did not know, and you know, they like, where's the vault, and everything else and stuff, and I was just thinking, oh wow, they're really gonna put them in, you know, where biomatter is stored and recycled and stuff. It was pretty trippy and stuff to watch this whole thing. And then watching Archer, how he was getting inside Clem's head. Like he wasn't like, you know, he didn't take any physical action towards him, but he was like, you know, using, you know, reverse psychology and try to get them to turn on each other. And I was like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
this is actually a really good way to show that the first time they interacted with this species, that they reported back to Starfleet, like you said at the beginning of the episode, that they didn't name drop them their species or anything and stuff, which was pretty, which I love that too and stuff and everything because it fit right in there with the whole continuity of like how did the Ferengi came out. I was like, okay, they had always known about the Ferengi since this episode, since Archer's now day, but yet Starfleet didn't. I guess we didn't see them as like a threat to to Earth and the Federation and stuff. But the one thing too that I liked about Tucker running around in his skimmies is they said they cleaned out all weapons locker. There's 14 weapons locker, and they cleaned out all of their weapons locker. I was like, how long were they out? I mean, the time that they stepped aboard and stuff is like, how long were they out? Because they moved a lot of stuff around. And Enterprise compared to that ship is big, and seeing that they had to go up over the ramp and stuff and everything, it was like they moved a lot of stuff quickly, to empty out the weapons lockers. That's crazy,
Oh,
But oh no, it was a funny little episode that just took away from their exploration in a sense.
Yeah, and that kind of touches base on another thing I noticed is the Ferengi really seem to know what buttons to push to open the doors, open the lift, and all that stuff too. Just like, and I thought that
Right.
was something I didn't pick up on the last time I watched this episode, which has been a while.
see, the
And
thing is that the Ferengi had their technology was a little more advanced, and I think that they just use deductive reasoning. I mean, everybody knows, well, everyone in the DT family knows that I do not like technology. I love it, but I hate it, and I have to whisper sweet nothings to it so that it works. But when new technology comes out, I am, I'm like a 2-year-old learning how to put blocks in the right shapes. I'm just I'm terrible. But take me back to, I don't know, like a Sega Mega Drive games console. I've got that. I have got that. Pieces of technology from way back when that I've never used before, I've worked out very easily. So I think with the Ferengi, I think it could be explained that because it was less advanced than their technology, maybe they had similar technology like back in the day. And that's how they were able to like operate things without really thinking too much about it. That's how I see it anyway, because like I say, I've gone back and used technology, I'll say technology, from like the 50s and the 60s. And I've known how to use it. I've worked it out very easily. But it could be just one of those things. Maybe
Tyson,
they had
Well,
it
similar
was
things.
a pleasure.
yeah, Tyson's got to go already. So,
Oh,
Same
Tyson, my
here.
darling.
Yeah, I've got
Love
net
you.
control for the next couple of Mondays. So,
oh, yay.
well,
How
it is
dare
what it is.
you? How
Enjoy
dare you
yourself.
abandon us?
All right, bye.
Talk to
Maybe
you
that's
later. Yeah, same, but
Well, real quick, Dave,
um,
I want to say this because he said Katie was talking about technology. I really like in the sense that Enterprise utilized using, you know, uh, docking hatches, docking
mhm.
ports, shuttlecrafts and stuff. They had transporter, but yet guess what? They utilized, uh, getting from one ship to another ship. Not the whole beaming thing, but it was like, oh, we got to dock with this ship to board it and stuff and everything because transporter technology was still like I guess it's very very new that a lot of species did not even have in trust.
Sorry,
But,
say that last part again. You cut out a little bit.
I was just talking about the transporter, like when ships in Enterprise dock with each other, they dock with each other to transfer or to meet with each other, like personnel, or if a ship's getting boarded and stuff, versus beaming onto the ship instantly and stuff and everything. Because transporter at the early days of Archer's now exploration, they had it, but they didn't utilize it to move
Yeah.
from place to place.
and
And I suppose that makes like you said, without the use of the transporters, like boarding ships was a lot different back then, and it was more like ships on the sea in a way. The way they had to board because they didn't have the use of the transporters. I'm actually wondering when the Ferengi got their transporter technology.
that's a good question.
I usually, from what I understand about Ferengi, they don't develop technology. They acquire it or they
Yeah,
steal
they
it.
buy it, and
Yeah. They usually and then they approve upon it too. They have scientists that do approve upon it, but new discovery of new technology is not something that they do. You know.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I'm wondering when they got their transporter technology though, because that interests me. Because obviously even though their technology was more advanced, a little more advanced than Starfleet's at the time, it can't have been all that much more advanced. And I think that's why they found it so easy to operate their systems, that maybe they were very similar, just a little less advanced. But yeah, I would actually like to look into when they acquired their transport technology, and whether it was before, because it must have been after Starfleet's, because I mean they already had transporter technology, but they were only using it for like inanimate objects like cargo and things until there was an emergency and it was needed, and then they started using it more regular.
Yeah.
and now I was actually going to make a comment, just like Phil said he's going to be here, and now he's here.
I made it.
Yay!
Hello.
You're having internet issues too?
I was trying to get through the episode before it started, and I thought, what's wrong with Netflix? It keeps freezing. And then when I tried to look into it, it's like, no, my entire
Network.
modem went out. I'm like, oh, for
Oh,
God's sake, not now.
Yeah,
I was a little bit behind watching the episode, because when I went to turn, because I've got Paramount Plus through Amazon Prime, so when I went to turn on my Amazon Prime, nothing was there, and I'm just like, oh, now I'm already running late. But then I reloaded it, and it was okay, and I'm just like, no, please, it's too close to the show for somebody to stand in for me.
No, but I'm thinking with my, well, at least for the next 2 months with my kickball league, I'm going to kind of make Sunday my chill day. Let's say I'm going to give my house manager a ride to church, then head over to kickball, and then just come home in the afternoon, probably do make that my laundry day, make that the day that I actually watch the episode before I have a 7:00 AA meeting to go to.
Okay. That sounds like a plan.
All right.
Yeah, but
yeah, and just a quick reminder for everyone: next week, we're not going to be on a time limit for the show, so clear your evenings.
Oh, right. Okay.
Just
because
it's like a
bigger episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Movie night.
Movie night. So yeah, definitely something I'm going to watch on a Sunday. And same.
My.
Yes, I will be watching the movie twice, because I always watch it on my birthday, with it being First Contact Day, and then I will be watching it before the show on Monday. But I won't really get to see it properly on Saturday. It'll just be on in the background because I'll be busy getting ready. But no, I will be watching it twice. On First Contact Day, it's a tradition that I have. Yes, stock up on your Red Bull, dear.
Or your Dubby.
Yeah, whichever, because
they claim it doesn't give you the jitters like some energy drinks do. So
Okay.
see, this is the second time I've had it. I had their orange cream. I got the fruit punch in here today, and both of them are pretty good. And see, I actually got to get the tubs instead of just the little sample things, but that's going to
yeah,
be
and unfortunately, I don't drink energy drinks. I just drink my anti-homicide juice.
Oh boy. So Phil, was you able to watch the episode? Any part of the episode?
Oh,
No.
sorry. I looked away for just a moment because I wanted to check my calendar actually to make sure because I remember I had a staff meeting with my company. I thought, oh my God, please don't tell me that's the same night, but it's not. So,
okay.
anyways,
Good.
I'm sorry. What's your question?
I just said, was you able to view any of this episode? Because I would love to hear your thoughts and opinion about it.
Yeah, it's funny. I enjoyed it actually because I most episodes of whatever series I've seen at some point. So even if I haven't been able to watch it, I know I've seen at some point years ago. And so there's some memory of it. But this one I put on, I thought, I'm not remembering this one at all. I don't think I've seen it. So it was kind of nice to just sort of watch sort of something very, very fresh. So I got a kick out of it actually. Yeah, like I said, I finally kind of just finished watching it. It was a bit weird. I couldn't get Neelix out of my head. It was a bit weird watching Nathan. What's his name again?
Ethan Phillips.
Ethan Phillips. I couldn't. That's all I can. Because it's funny because when I first saw him when the very first time I watched Voyager and saw him in that, all I kept thinking of was Benson because we grew up watching that all the time. So I kept thinking of his character from Benson. And so, but now it's funny watching this, and I'm like, it's all I can hear is like Neelix in disguise for some reason in this. So
yeah, I found that so difficult as well because I'm just like, right, it's not Neelix, it's not Neelix, it's not Neelix.
I have to,
different actor.
Well, and it's not the first time Phillips has played a Ferengi. Say that episode "False Prophets" in Voyager. Neelix dressed up as a Ferengi.
No. He goes way back to Next Gen. Do y'all remember in the episode where it was message at Troy when Loxana, Deanna?
Oh yeah, he was Ferric. He was Ferric as Dr. Ferric.
Yep, he played a Ferengi. Ethan is not figured. He played a Ferengi back then.
Okay.
Yeah, there's only one instance in the Trek world that I'm aware of where he actually wasn't in alien makeup. And he was actually just looking human, and that is in First Contact.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
He is the host holodeck that tells the Borg to get out.
Yeah, the maitre d'.
I forgot about that. Good memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, he did.
I
don't think he even got officially credited for that either, if memory serves.
Did Robert Picardo get credited for being a doctor too? For the hologram doctor?
Think so.
Something else that stuck out in my head too was that to Paul, for being a Vulcan, took the captain's comments quite personally, which I thought was unusual for a Vulcan. But she was put out by that, and I thought she must have known that he was saying this.
Oh, that was a pretty good lie. She begged the key in front of him.
Yeah.
She was just like, and you're right. She took that little person there. He was like, yeah, unlock these things, so Commander. That's an order. I was like, so Paul, she heard him say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I thought, like, for Vulcan, she's really taking that to heart. I'm like, they're supposed to be very incredibly intelligent beings. I mean, surely she must have and even I don't think of them as something to even. They don't really even tease. They don't even really, so it was just a very strange reaction from her, I thought. But
It was.
unless she's still young and still learning and training, I don't know. But
well, young. She's in her she's in her early 60s, I want to say. But young for a Vulcan.
Yeah, that's true. A 60-year-old Vulcan is pretty young. Meg would be about in the 30s for us.
Yeah.
Well, no, because I mean, how old the Vulcan? God, I can't get my bloody words out. How long do Vulcans live? Yes, I got the sentence out.
Typically, they get to their early 200s. I think Sarek passed away when he was 202, I want to say.
Yes, 202. Sarek passed away at 202.
Oh,
Right, so if we say 200, a 60-year-old Vulcan would probably
30. 6 is 18.
like mid to late 20s for us.
Right.
Because our average lifespan, I think, is now round about
early 70s.
No, I think it's actually gone up to like the early 80s. Maybe I think the average is about 83, 84 now. For like an average healthy human.
Depending what continent you're on.
Yeah, like an average healthy human, but I mean, a lot more people are starting to live into their 90s now. Yeah, basically. So, Paige, as a Vulcan, you'd be like 60 years old.
I learned something too. There's something that is called our birth age, our chronological age. It's like like our some people can look, so you can look different than what your chronological age is. And there's a whole thing about like, as human beings, can we expand our life expectancy as we move forward with our species and stuff in the coming century or two. I know scientists are looking to see if we humans are able to live longer than what our biological and chronological age says and stuff and everything. But that's just one thing.
Hoping they get a move on that. I'm getting older.
Well, no, I mean they do say that you're as young as you feel. I mean, in my brain, I'm still 18, but my body, my body feels like it's in its like 90s.
Yeah, that was me. That was me on Sunday.
Yeah, there's just no in between with me, and then I sometimes I'm like, am I really 38 next week? And I'm just like, no, in my head I'm 20 years younger, and then like I'll go to stand up and my back will crack, and I'm like, oh, maybe just like triple that age.
No, but we'll see if we got a spammer in the Twitch chat. We're not going to throw that on the screen.
Oh yeah, another one.
But hey, we're getting spam, so yeah, our show's getting legitimate.
Doing something right. Doing something right,
But no, yeah, after playing kickball on Sunday, definitely made use of this thing. My little old massage gun.
Okay.
Hold on, what the hell did you just show us, Dave?
A massage gun.
Okay, I'm not even gonna comment on that.
As your friend,
it's not that kind of toy. Good grief, Catie.
I'm sorry, but
maybe maybe you could like one of the Ferengis. Those what you put one of them on the Ferengi's ears. They'd be good umox.
Yeah, the lowest setting's pretty intense, so they'd probably. Probably not the best thing to use for umox.
I mean, I wonder what, Ferengi males, when they do umas, do they, finish with the climax?
You're moving in your seat.
Say OAP, is that a British thing, or am I just that like pure that I don't know what that stands for?
Excuse me. OAP, where have I heard that?
Catie, if you're there.
She's giggling so much. I don't know if we broke her or not.
Oh, she's in a cackle fit, so we broke her.
But anyway, Phil, this particular episode, because you was talking about it, I don't know if you heard earlier, but I was just saying, in the previous episodes in Enterprise, they talked about somebody asked, where when y'all flush the toilets, where do the water goes? And Trip had to explain to some kids back on Earth, what Enterprise is equipped with.
Okay.
For waste recycling.
Right.
And in this particular episode, we saw where they store the waste recycle stuff at.
Oh yeah.
And they used it as the vault. They used it as the vault of the ship. I fell out laughing. I was like, I hope it doesn't smell in there.
Yeah, it was pretty sealed.
They have some sort of...
I was thinking they're not going to put them in there.
Well, they did shoot. They shot. I think the Apollo shot a pipe and it, erupted with some gas. I'm like, oh no, please be careful. Don't shoot any stuff and everything.
Yeah, don't shoot the poop bucket.
You okay?
Gross. Yeah.
You okay, Catie?
I think I've recovered. I do apologize. But Dave's non-sex toy broke me.
It'll break a Ferengi too.
Yeah, just hit him hit him in the right spot. Yeah, I could.
So we used to clean our ears.
They actually did show. I think Rob had one that he used to
I
clean
need a carer.
Oh goodness! Oh.
May the gods give me strength with all these people. I love you guys so much.
But when the Ferengi came across Porthos, though, and they threw him into the crane, it's like, you bastards.
I forgot about that.
But when they were trying to use the universal translator to communicate with them, that was adorable.
I love
I was kind of hoping that when they tried to use it on the dog, the translator would come through like when it started to bark a couple of times. I was hoping it would come through like food, what?
Yes.
Food. I was like hoping it would do that. Yeah. Oh,
I was hoping it would say something too.
Yeah. That'd be so funny. But yeah, I wanted to decapitate the Ferengi for putting Porthos in that box.
But of course, Archer's the one that found him. So
yeah.
That was kind of...
Porthos was fine. That dog actor who plays Porthos is just absolutely amazing. I mean, I adore Porthos because cheese is life. It certainly is for Porthos, and it is for me as well. I've actually eaten a full plate of cheese tonight while on the show, and I regret nothing. But
Cheese is death for me. I can't eat it, unfortunately. Stomach issues.
Age.
Way too much, it will kill me. It's,
Oh no!
It's rechargeable, Paige. No batteries.
Y'all gotta kill Catie before this show ends.
How did that break it, Catie? Just weren't expecting.
Oh goodness! I like in this episode. They was literally taking everything they can that was just useless. They moved Travis out of his chair on the bridge, and they took his chair on the bridge. They took 2 pecan pies and threw it. I'm like, what? Y'all taking their food too? They took their food. I was like,
and how he was like sniffing it, checking it out, saying, "Oh, this is gross," and he took the pie instead, and and the second slice of pie.
I was like, you just taking everything that seems that has value to it and stuff. Like the doctor, the big old, I don't even know what to call it, medical term for to call it, but that thing that the Ferengi took in the sick bay. It looked like some sort of some sort of surgical tool, and he was just sitting there just playing with it. I'm like, oh boy, really? You have no idea what it is, and you're just gonna take it.
A spare lead out?
Yes, by charging cable.
Oh yeah. I got plenty of USB cables to be able to recharge it, but I spent over $300 on it at the fair a couple of years ago. But it definitely comes in handy.
Is there any more in your notes, Dave?
What's that?
I asked, is there anything in your notes that you still that you know?
Yeah, oddly, for as good of an episode as it is, I didn't write as many notes as I thought I was going to.
If I can jump in with something really quick, that was kind of fun. I actually had to message Dave. I was watching this on Netflix, and I thought it was odd that at the beginning the Ferengi were speaking a different language, but there was no subtitles that came up. And I thought, is this a mistake on Netflix? Because they're doing this a lot. Like there's a lot of dialogue going on here.
There's none on Paramount Plus either, and there wasn't on the UK Netflix when I first, because it was on the UK Netflix when I first saw. I'm just ignoring all these comments. I really am, because nobody needs to hear me broken again tonight.
Then of course, sex is going to come up again next week, because that big old thing when the Board Queen's seducing Data for 0.67 seconds.
That was a form of Rumox.
0.68 seconds, I think it was. But
6-7, close enough.
So, what was I saying? Yeah, I originally saw it on Netflix and then on Paramount Plus, and none of them have subtitles on.
Which was the norm for Trek back then?
Was it? So I remember watching. Remember Star Trek 6 came out, and there was a scene there where Uhura was quickly trying to translate what the
Klingon
outpost were saying. Now there's a version of that. They don't put the like I don't remember if in the theater if they had that or not, but I do remember watching it when I used to have it on DVD, and they'd have have it on the bottom. But there's a version of that I've seen on television where the subtitles don't come up for that. And I was like, I was trying to remember if the cinema, when I saw it in the cinema, if that actually had the subtitles, if there's a version with and version with, because there's 2 different cuts of that movie. So, but like Dave says, there was occasions where they didn't bother just translate; they just left them kind of in their alien language and left up to the performance of the actors to convey what they're trying to bring across, which actually that was really good on behalf of all those actors to you kind of knew what they were talking about without it needing to be translated.
Yeah,
so
I really liked that. I liked that it wasn't. I like that it wasn't translated in subtitles. And sometimes I do like that because you can make up in your own head what they're saying.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I'm watching something and there's a different language being spoken with no subtitles, I just make up a conversation in my head, and sometimes I break myself.
Right.
With a conversation I make up in my head. So it can be pretty hilarious. Oh, Sir Jeff is backstage.
Yeah,
Do you
so,
want to bring him on, Dave?
what's that? Well, he's listening to us back as he's driving home. Did he say something that I didn't see on here? Or?
No, Jeff is backstage now, but I
don't
know how to work the cameras.
Hey, Jeff, how's it going?
Hello.
How are you all doing?
Hello, darling.
Hey, Jeff.
Sorry,
So, yeah,
I'm joining so late.
Well, that's all right. So safety is more important when you're behind the wheel, but you joined us. We got about 20 minutes left before I have to pull the plug. So
Cool.
And not that plug either.
Thank goodness. Oh.
Looking Catie tonight. Don't be shy, Catie. Let us see you laugh, and you can still mute it, but
Exactly. Don't be
so what are some of your thoughts on this episode, Jeff?
You lot are evil to me, so I'm just gonna go straight to Sir Jeff. Welcome, Sir Jeff. What are your thoughts on this episode?
Well, you know what? I didn't get a chance to hear all this podcast on the drive home, so I'm not sure what was already discussed. I don't want to repeat anything, but one thing that did stick out in my mind was none of those Ferengis were repulsed by those clothed females.
Oh,
right.
Mind,
yeah. I mean, they were infatuated with T'Pol, but just like, and she's,
it didn't sicken them or anything.
Right. And they
Actually,
didn't
yeah,
make
that's
any
the point,
sense.
because they don't allow their females to be clothed, do they?
No,
Or
they
to
do
speak to strangers.
That is very interesting.
That's a good,
I
that's good
completely
insight.
forgot about that.
Me too. That's why we need more people.
Ferengi.
We need more people like Jeff and Phil and stuff to come on, because it's like y'all have you can you give us a unique perspective that we probably have missed and stuff, and little insight to things that us fans have missed and stuff and everything. That right there, I just never put two and two together. I just know that they was wanting to take the females and sell them into slavery.
Right, and maybe they were used to that kind of thing. Maybe they sold several females into slavery and just assumed that other species wore clothes. Who knows? But they didn't make any comments over it.
Whoa. When did my eyes light up? When did my eyes light up?
The unclothed females, I'm guessing.
Catie mentioned that earlier trip, being run around in his, underwear and stuff. He has a, nice derriere. I gotta say, T'Pol has a nice derriere too.
Absolutely.
She has just as equal, both Trip and T'Pol. They got some nice backsides and stuff. It's like when I watched her walking out the, door, I was like, wow, she's got a little dunk in the trunk.
Yeah, you see, I could have done without the front view of Trip in his underwear. You know, that's
Oh no, I can handle that. I can take your hand of that.
Me too.
First thing that came to mind is yet another excuse to get Connor Jr. in a tank top.
I just wish they had some water that they threw on him.
Yeah,
yes, as I always say, I much prefer chesticles to testicles. So, you know.
Yeah. But no, yeah,
Well,
yeah,
the
Trip,
ball has
Connor,
some.
you had a decent little bulge going on there.
Yeah.
But
Again,
I'm one of the things I wrote in my notes. Why did he choose to just grab a random crewman's uniform and not go to his own quarters and get his own uniform?
because he wouldn't have known if he'd be able to make it there. Because at that, you know, they had no idea exactly how many of them were on the ship or where they were. So he'd have just literally gone into the like the closest place to throw on a random uniform. So that kind of makes sense.
Oh, did anybody notice this? Because it was just a shock to me. When one of the Ferengis saw one of their boots and he took off his shoes, he had socks on. I didn't think Ferengis had socks. I was like, I thought you would see their crazy looking funky toes and stuff and everything else, but apparently they, you know, they have socks. I was just dumbfounded that I seen Ferengis with socks. And it was, and then Trip, when he was changing in, he didn't have any socks on. He was running around barefoot and stuff and everything. I was like, boy, oh boy. I said, I hope he don't end up catching something on his feet that Dr. Flock's going to have to, clean up.
Yeah, but Trip had just been in decon. He was in the decon chamber, wasn't he? So he had.
That's true.
So, you know, he kind of had no choice for being in his underwear, and though obviously the uniform that he'd been wearing had gone to decontamination or wherever, but well, yeah, you know, or maybe he ran around in his underwear for so long just to breathe. You know, he fancied a day off from his uniform.
Everyone's asleep, so who's going to notice him anyway? So it's like, why not?
Yeah, that's true.
Exactly, you know, but and obviously there was only Archer around, and you know they're both men, so.
It's like they'd never seen each other, be like, oh yeah, I've seen you, I mean, you see me, there's no big deal. We grab towels and we slap each other on the ass.
And to Paul, when she woke up and saw Trip in his underwear, she was just like, I take it you've got a good explanation. And she was just like so calm. She didn't even do the Vulcan one eyebrow raise, She was just like, I assume you've got a good explanation. And I'm just like, hold on a minute. Even as a Vulcan, if I was woke up, regardless of whether I know him or not, by a man in his underwear, I'd at the very least display a raised eyebrow. Yeah. Because it's not often that you see your work colleagues or your friends in their undies, so...
And you know what? Yeah. Them being in space and stuff and everything, what's that saying go? You have to expect the unexpected.
Yeah, that is a good point. Yeah. Just another day on the Enterprise, really.
Another day on the Starship NX-01 Enterprise.
Yeah.
Half the crew will run around naked, and we don't know why.
I mean, they could have had one of the women in their underwear for a change,
Well, that's well, in the decon they do that a lot, but that's pretty much it. When they're putting that gel on.
Decontamination.
That Ransom is just so fond of.
Yeah, I'm just going to say this. After that comment, Catie, you perv. Yeah, Paige missed Trip in his underwear, unfortunately.
So, did anybody cover the number of rules of acquisition? Travis, I think you're the expert on that, aren't you?
Yes, he is. Rain Man.
He
Rain
is.
Man.
Well, I watch it on I watch the Paramount Plus on Amazon.
Mhm.
So when you hit the screen, like trivia and things like that pop up, and it's backed by like IMDb. So
Yeah.
I noticed that there were 173 rules
Mhm.
during this time frame,
Yep.
but in Voyager there was 285.
Yes.
So I'm sure you guys already covered that, but I thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
I
so
do
it's
too.
just
I like that continuity.
yeah,
Oh, I
so
was gonna say
they
I like that. Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry.
I was just like, yeah, it just goes with continuity because it was 200 years in the past. It gives an
Sure.
opportunity for Ferengi. They come up with something more, then they add on to it. And then, oh, what was it? I forget which subsequent series it was. They mentioned there's like 290 something rules of
Oh,
acquisition.
okay.
So it makes it a little hard for those people that remember 285. Say, God, I got to memorize another 7. God dang it.
And it's so funny that one of them mentioned, he said there's 273. He said, and I remember, the important ones. I'm like, oh, there are some least important ones, which, I mean, you could tell. If you go through the rules, you see some of them are least important, but then you look at it, you're like, okay, now, some of them, there are some of the ones that when they requote, they quote again. It's like, because uh, they use some of the rules of acquisition in like DS9, or they didn't do so much in Voyager, and stuff. But like, yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, Katie. You're just as dirty and dangerous as the rest of us.
If I am, it's because your lot have corrupted me. But now I'm as innocent as the day I was hatched, and I have 2 halos. And
I'm thinking last week's episode was probably dirtier, right?
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah,
that was Dave. That was Dave,
that,
not me.
that was all me. But again, I'll stand by it. It is a legitimate question.
Sure, a little bit of a data stream, so to speak.
I mean, just like this question. I mean, like I asked, if you bite a Ferengi in the ear, is it like kicking a guy? It's like kicking a guy in the balls. I mean.
Oh, we did it again.
Oh, Jesus Christ, please will you stop making me laugh?
That's what you do best, Katie.
But yeah, it was pretty interesting about how they implement the rules of acquisition in this episode than what we were familiar with. It's like, oh wow, 200 years later, they added way many more.
My halo is so big it is the size of a hula hoop. Is everybody else around me?
Well, Davis, you got anything else in your notes and stuff?
Yeah, I was just going to ask. So like I said, I only wrote 1 page of notes on this episode, which is unusual. I usually have a minimum of 2.
I've got to give the Vulcan credit for something, because the way that she played Krem in his shuttle, that was very thinking on your feet. And Vulcans aren't really known for being all that inventive when it comes to stuff like that. And T'Pol really did think on her feet, and she very quickly got an understanding of how to distract him. And so, you know, I've got to give her credit for that.
You know
Because
what?
that was just brilliant.
There was no violence. Well, I can't say there was no violence used, but you know, I mean, aside from Trip getting stunned and shot and stuff and everything else and other stuff, there wasn't really much, you know, fights going on. There was no. I mean, Archer got, you know, he got couple, you know, roughed up a couple of times and stuff like that, but it wasn't too serious that he like couldn't recover and stuff. But it was like the the you know, their response to the Ferengi invasion of their ship. It wasn't, you know, to the point where, you know, they went out their way to try to kill him or something like that. They just, you know, they use to me, they use logic and deduction, you know, other than, you know, brute force.
Yeah, I like the way that this episode was done. The fact that there was extreme lack of violence. Although I'm sorry, but one of my scenes actually does have a little bit of violence in it. Well, if you could call it violence, it was more of a love tap, and that was when the head Ferengi with Trip in his chest. I absolutely love that scene. I really do. But yeah, I really did love that scene because yes, they have. Yes, they have, Kate. They have. They well interrupted me. What was that? Is the Klingons the same path as the Vulcans? No, they are very different. Vulcans suppress their emotions and they are very logical, whereas Klingons are a warrior race and their emotions are worse than mine.
Yeah,
More volatile as well.
Stab first, ask questions later.
Yes, they find honor in dying in battle. Whereas Vulcans, they like to run from a fight. Klingons run to the fight. Basically. But no, I love this episode of Enterprise. I mean, Enterprise has got a special place in my heart. And yeah, I really like how they did this episode introducing the Ferengi and the way that they managed to turn them against each other as well and get them like so paranoid and then eventually trap them. And that little scuffle between Trip and Archer, that just sold it.
Well, that
Yeah.
I mean, was there any like pent up energy with that, or is there something, or they just like took an opportunity just to say let's play with it and see how far we can go?
And you know, it's so funny that
Well, that's the warning. I didn't mean to scare you, Katie. So we just got a few
I
minutes left.
wasn't keeping an eye on the time.
You know, this episode is one of the episodes that you only see Archer, T'Pol, and Trip. The only three main characters interacting. You know,
Yeah, everyone else is out cold.
Even Hoshi.
Well, yeah, Trip did try to revive Hoshi, didn't it? But obviously the hypo spray had run out.
Yep.
Hey, I thought Ethan Phillips did a great job. He just kicked some ass. Actually, they all did. Great acting.
Like they had fun. Oh yeah, they look like they had fun with it too.
You know, I really wish I could have seen Ethan Phillips and the guy that played Odo. I can't remember his name. Yeah, that would be cool if they were in an episode together. But unfortunately, that can't happen. It would have been like the old Benson TV show that they were on together.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh
yeah. I have a little bit of a question because something else actually kind of popped into my head.
And me. I was like, thanks.
We didn't even talk about Tasha Yar's V shape that cut dress she had. My goodness.
Oh yeah,
The only
yeah,
thing
that was
holding that on there was her bean.
yeah. And with the little Superman curl in her hair.
Yeah, I
Also
noticed
nice.
that too. It's like
Yeah, what was
need
going
some
on with her hair?
kryptonite
I'm
for her.
sorry. But no, she could have done her hair better.
It was the '80s.
True. Yeah, I always forget that it was like a year out before. Yeah, 87.
I do have kind of a bit of a question that to throw to you guys, just because it was a thought that I had also while watching this. So this is a season 1 episode.
Episode 19.
Is this supposed to be the first encounter with the Ferengi?
Yes.
Because I couldn't help get out of my head also and I was just watching a scene from this a few weeks ago, was when they were first introduced in Next Generation.
The last outpost.
I can't remember. Yeah, and I can't remember if it was still new to them or if they were a familiar race, but
according to
the behavior was very different. I remember in Next Gen, they're very like all over the place and very.
Yeah, because there's been encounters with the Ferengi, but the writers intentionally did not use the Ferengi species name in this episode to be able to make the Next Generation the actual first face-to-face contact was the last outpost, because Picard had the Battle of Maxia 9 years before that episode aired. So
he lost the Stargazer. He lost the Stargazer to
that battle. Yeah.
Yeah.
But since they never had like face-to-face interaction with the name connecting the two.
And also too, Picard opening in the last outpost, he mentioned that they only have heard whispers and rumors, about, when he was making his log entry.
I'm still here.
He was just saying he was making log entry about they chasing a Ferengi vessel, and this is the first time
and they never knew their name.
And stuff. Yeah, but for some reason he said a Ferengi vessel. Picard did. So apparently somehow they were able to get their name, but they never they just point out they never saw them in person before. They never really had a face-to-face conversation. They only heard of rumors and conjectures and speculations about this enigmatic race.
Yeah.
We got less than 2 minutes left. So, any closing thoughts from anybody?
Don't piss off humans.
Ah.
Yeah, especially when they're running around in their underwear.
I like the way it ended with Krim being the guy in charge, pulling the strings. That was kind of nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. His cousin was like, trying to bargain with him. I'm like,
yeah, right.
Well,
that was a good one.
Well, I mean, it's so funny because Watcher actually threw back a rule of acquisition to him. He said, never allow family to stand in the way of opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
He said, well, and he threw that back at, Quinn about his cousin. I was like, okay, I see how you're doing. You flip the script. I like that.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, Paige, I'm sure Catie can fill you in off camera with wibbly wobbly with the timeline and stuff. But like I was saying, at least because the first episode of Enterprise, they rewrote canon, introducing the Klingons 50 years too early. So they did this episode right by not mentioning the Ferengi by name.
I'm sorry, but I don't see TOS as canon. I can't.
Oh, come on.
Yes, it was a birth of a legend, but for me, TOS is like the movie Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That is a complete load of shit. The series Buffy the Vampire Slayer is the GOAT, basically. And it's the same with me with TOS. So I don't see that as canon because everything about it is just so contradictory. But yeah, I'll fill Paige in about what, because I think she's on about First Contact, the movie. So I'll tell her all about it later. But no, yes, next week, people. 2 days after first contact day.
Paige, sweetheart,
Listen.
do yourself a favor. Go back and watch all TOS and all the TOS movies.
No.
You will understand.
Yeah,
you will understand. You understand all the Star Trek before the before we jump
Travis,
in.
you're barking up a tree and saying that's not going to happen with her. But
Unless we
No.
can remove William Shatner out of it, it's not going to happen.
yeah, say next week we're going to do technically Trek for Star Trek First Contact for First Contact Day. That is a day I am going to skip my AA meeting so we can talk however long we want about in that episode. And then for April, since that's the first Monday in April, it's going to be a Borg month. So we're going to do Q-Who. I don't think we've talked about Q-Who on Technically Trek yet.
No.
And then the following Monday, we're going to not only talk about Q2 from Star Trek Voyager, we're going to have Mono Inti Raimi join us. Egypt himself is going to be on this show. So
nice.
looking forward to that.
Yeah.
We all know that that's going to be a very interesting show.
Oh, and that episode is also going to go long. So as long as I get my 5 meetings in the week, I'm good. So I can, since I do 2 on Saturdays, I can get away with it. So it's going to be a long show.
That's going to be a very interesting show because Q2 is one of my favorite episodes
Ditto.
in Voyager, and Icheb's always been a favorite of mine.
As with me, but I'm running late. I got people that are waiting for me to give them a ride. So
yeah,
next week.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Be safe.
May Spock be with you.
Live long and prosper.